Jambo, Ambote, how goody body? Or as we say in Canada, good morning. It's such an honor to be here, and I have to say this is the most dynamic gathering of journalists I think I've ever been in, outside of a pub, of course. It's wonderful to be here, and I want to really start by recognizing the incredible vision of Christine and Maurice, our hosts, wherever they are sitting here in the room. I absolutely love that this is very specifically called a media festival and not a media conference. Trust me, if we were in Canada, we'd be in the basement, windowless basement of a 3-star hotel with bad lighting and worse coffee. So to be here in the great outdoors at this spectacular place is really something. You know, also calling it a festival is such an uplifting and celebratory word. And that is exactly what we've seen here yesterday and again this morning, a celebration of combined energy, a celebration of creativity, and above all, this is a celebration of the unwavering power of journalism. And let's face it, we need to celebrate journalism because nobody else is going to do it. So it's got to happen in places like this, and we carry that forward. The festival is definitely a reminder that journalism is not merely about the headlines or the breaking news, as we saw in the graph yesterday. It's really about coming together as a community of truth tellers, of thinkers, and storytellers. I always think journalists, above all, we are that jagged stone in the heel, in the shoe of those with power and privilege who are increasingly intent on keeping the public in the dark. That stone, that pebble, that rock, that is the constant reminder that someone is always watching. It is a true honor for me, both me and the incredible team from Journalists for Human Rights, a Canadian organization, to join this thoughtful, collaborative celebration of journalism across Africa. I will say that in my 35 years as a journalist, so yes, I'm part of that 5% we saw on Christine's graph yesterday of the over 55s here. And it's so exciting to see so many young people. In fact, I was even interviewed by a 12-year-old podcaster yesterday. Some very tough questions, I'm going to be honest with you. But, you know, I've had the privilege of covering some of history's most defining moments around the world, from chaos and conflict in Iraq, in Afghanistan, across the Middle East, to natural disasters and devastating outcomes across Asia, to deadly political uprisings and humanitarian crises across Africa, including Goma, where we are seeing today the crisis unfold yet again. We are seeing families devastated and desperate to flee the violence, and we are seeing journalists put themselves in true danger to get that story out. So I have truly seen harsh realities in the world, but it's not all bad news. I have also witnessed moments of sheer hope and joy, and I have to say that the 2010 World Cup in South Africa was one that I will never, ever forget. And although I am not a football fan, I am a huge supporter of anything that exposes billions of people to the pride of different cultures that is so often lost in the noise of everyday life. And I have to say, just walking in this morning with all the flags, and this morning all the flags, I was getting choked up thinking of the great song by the great Somali Canadian Keynote. And you know, I've been dared to sing, so I can never, ever, as a journalist, not take up a dare, and then double dare you, sister, so watch for it. But so do you remember this song, which was going through my head this morning, from 2010, Somali Canadian, when I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave that flag. Come on, everybody, remember that? When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And I very specifically have the DRC flag in my hand here. But I remember interviewing Kenan back then, walking down a street in Soweto, and he told me that he had written that song about his struggle as a refugee displaced by war. In his own words, the song was so much more than just music. It was a declaration of hope, of strength, and the desire for a safe place to call home. And isn't that what we actually all want? Is a safe place to call home, a place where we can wave our flag in pride, not provocation. And Kenan, he used his microphone. And it's the one thing everybody in this space today has in common. It is access to a microphone. And believe me, this microphone carries a lot of weight, locally, nationally, and internationally. So then the question, of course, becomes, what are we going to do with this microphone? We are going to bear witness, and we are not going to stop. Hopefully, we listen more than we talk, but when we talk, we give voice to those who too often go unheard. It is definitely not lost on me in this spectacular weather here in Nairobi that as a Canadian journalist, I am incredibly lucky. On Canadian soil, by and large, the greatest threat to a reporter is standing outside in minus 20 degrees Celsius weather up to your knees in snow, which is what it is right now in Toronto. For so many, though, across Africa, the threat could not be higher. Intimidation, violence, tear gas, as we saw here in Nairobi at the protests not that long ago, imprisonment, and even death. So why? Why do we as journalists do this? Why do we put ourselves at risk in reporting of human rights violations? Well, the short answer is change won't happen by itself. We are not satisfied with the status quo. We believe that our leaders can do better, that our societies can be better, and that the microphone is not just a tool for reporting. This doubles as a flashlight, and it is a flashlight that penetrates darkness. It guides us to the stories that need to be told, shining a light on truths that might otherwise remain hidden. So whether it is reporting through traditional media or new innovative platforms that we have been seeing here at the festival, our job is to keep that light burning bright enough to spark a fire and force real change. It's actually why I'm so proud to be part of an organization like Journalists for Human Rights, because our entire goal is to bring voices together, to connect journalists with community, to tell their stories, and to make change. One of my most enduring examples is right here in Kenya, about an hour from Nairobi, the Greenland School for Teenage Mothers. And it was a single, small, little digest piece in The Nation that, written by a JHR-trained journalist, I might add, Maura Oberaya. I don't know if Maura is here, but if she is, she should be celebrated for that article, that it was amplified through social media. It reached across Kenya and beyond borders, literally saving lives, saving girls, giving girls who ended up pregnant a second chance, at, some as young as 12, by the way, a second chance at an education and a second chance at life. And we were just there the other day to visit with Purity Gikunda, the amazing co-founder of the school, and some of the students that I met a couple of years ago. Now, Lemuel is 3 years old. Sarafina is about to graduate in a year. I asked her, so how are your marks? And she sort of got a little bit shy, and she said, fantastic. And I was just beaming with pride. She is just such, as they all are. But, you know, That is the power of one small story, truly. And that power makes politicians a little nervous. In today's global political environment, we definitely stand at a crossroads. Truth is too often distorted by misinformation serving narrow interests behind the closed doors of power. These tactics undermine our shared values, and they drive a wedge between us. And it's exactly that wedge, that gap, that this festival is working to bridge. I've seen it all day yesterday and already this morning. It is actually magic what's happening here. And the test is to take the magic beyond the museum into the future. Right now, at this very moment, consider the crisis in global development, the drastic dismantling of USAID, the world's largest funder of development programs. This 90-day freeze is decimating life-saving work around the world, and especially in Africa. I don't even have to tell you this. You all know this. You cover this. It is impacting everyone from small NGOs to the biggest aid organizations on the planet, but it's also having a direct effect on how we report on the fallout, what is happening. These funds supported programs that promote freedom of the press, independent, and most importantly, investigative journalism. So that means the cuts mean less money to train journalists, to provide equipment and resources, and most importantly, it weakens the safety net for journalists who are facing threats, harassment, or legal challenges because of the human rights stories that they cover. Of course, long-term, this has severe consequences for democracy. We all know that anytime there is a weakened media state, the public is in danger and again, in the dark. Critical stories are left untold. I know it is a very tough landscape right now, and it's hard not to feel helpless at times. But in every crisis, there truly is an opportunity. And all of us being here today is one of them. Only by standing together can we protect press freedom, and it's vital, never been more vital. Under the current global leadership, and I use that word lightly, in some cases, leadership that is bringing democracy to its knees in your continent, in my continent, we need, as journalists, we need to look to ourselves now to fill the void. No matter where we are in the world, whether you're reporting from a frigid Canadian winter 12,000 kilometers away or the vibrant heart of Africa, we share a vision, and every single story that is told is a step forward toward that vision, a better, more inclusive future. And it is up to us to keep this microphone at full volume, sing in it if you have to, but use it, and keep that flashlight switched on. Is journalism up to the task of the times that we're living in? Absolutely it is. Of course it is. A resounding yes. Trust me, almost 40 years in this business, it's not new what we're facing, but while we're in the moment, it's incredibly difficult and painful. But we're up to the task, and I have to say that, like all great festivals, this one, it leaves me exhilarated, it leaves me inspired, and so eager to see what comes next. The energy here is a reminder that our work is not just about covering news, but it's about creating change. Together, we are not just reporting history, we are shaping it. And I want to thank all of you for the great honor of allowing me to stand up here and speak to you for a few minutes, for inviting us, Journalists for Human Rights, to be part of this spectacular, meaningful event. And to that I say, asante sana. Thank you, everybody.